Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. For today's plan with me, we are gonna be decorating a weekly spread using the Happy Planner paper punch and a beautiful specialty paper pad. So let's get started. So I have had this paper pad forever. I got it at Joann eons ago. So all the pages are all over the place. The pages are not even full anymore, but they are stunning papers in here. I love it. I recently found it among my stuff, so I just couldn't help myself. I had to create a spread with it. It has some papers with glitter. It has some papers that have a fabric texture, which is super cool, and they are cardstock. They are fairly thick, especially those fabric papers and the glitter areas, but I'm personally not too bothered about it, especially because I do not use pattern papers too often. So even though it creates a bit of bulk in my planner, it's certainly not bad enough for me to stop using them. Anyhow, if that bothers you, I would recommend you to use pattern papers instead of this more like heavyweight paper or cardstock. And you can find some very lightweight pattern papers which are just as beautiful at Michael's or maybe even more at Hobby Lobby. But then again, I don't really think it makes any harm to use some more heavyweight papers once in a while, like once a month or anything like that. And of course, if that doesn't even bother you at all, you can use them every week and that doesn't really have to be a problem. So don't feel like you have to stop using them. Anyhow, again, for me personally, I decided to use them the last week of May, because even though May just started for an unknown reason, I decided to share it now. But this is gonna be the last week of the month. That way I wouldn't have to write on the other side of this week of these pages, even though in my case I will have to partially, because again I have of course not filled the previous week yet. If you were going to actually decorate it the same week that you are going to use it and you leave them for the last week of the month, you wouldn't have to write on the other side of the pages, if that makes any sense, because the next time you have to fill a spread, it would be the following month and you have a more heavyweight divider that is gonna even out a little more the surface where you are going to write in, and even more if you pull out your pages to write in them, you wouldn't even have this spread underneath your pages where you are writing in. I hope that makes sense. But as you have seen, I have already punched out most of the pages that I want to use, and I even pulled out that yellow page that I wanted to use throughout the spread as an accent. And now I am working to my washi tape. I decided to use this skinny washi tape from Michael's just because I love it so much and I haven't used it in forever. But spoiler alert, I ended up changing it at the end because even though I really wanted to convince myself that it matched my spread, I ended up feeling that some of the colors, especially the pink ones, were a little too bright for this spread and for these papers, and I wasn't really happy with how it was looking all together. And then for the middle lines, I used a burlap washi tape from Hobby Lobby because I thought it would help with the vintage look of the spread and the papers, and I ended up really happy with that choice. And then I started adding adhesive to my paper boxes using this tape that I have used before in this channel, and I got it at Amazon, so you will find the link to it in my Amazon favorites, which you can find in the description of this video. And I love using this adhesive because I can place all of my boxes in my spread before committing to stick them down. Anyhow, this adhesive is really strong, so once you remove the backing paper, you will very probably not be able to move them around. So do all of the placement and arranging and planning before you stick them down. But if you're new to this channel, go ahead and hit that subscribe button before you forget, and hit the bell icon to be notified every time we upload a video. and I am planning to do paper pattern spreads a little more often, so give me a thumbs up if you're excited about that. I certainly am. There are so many beautiful pattern papers out there, and it is a pretty affordable option to create beautiful spreads. And of course, I want to get more use out of my box sponge, so I cannot wait for those spreads. I hope you are enjoying them too. At the end of this video, I'll make sure to link a couple of Plan With Me's where I have used pattern paper as well, so make sure to check them out if you haven't. And getting back to my spread again, I already arranged and sticked down all of the full boxes like I normally do with box stickers. And to fill in the sidebar in this spread, I decided to do something a little different because this paper pad is actually 6 by 6, which is not too tall. So I wouldn't have been able to fill in the whole sidebar with one single page all in one piece. So what I decided to do was to punch out some more full boxes to fill in the entire sidebar. And then with my scissors, very simply, very easily and quickly, I cut them in an angle. And for this, as you can see, I put one on top of another and I rotate one of them. Then I do a diagonal cut, and before placing it down in my page, I rotate again the one that I originally rotated before the cut. I hope with the video you can see what I mean and you can see exactly how I did it, but in here is in real time. You place one on top of the other and then you rotate, you cut in a diagonal line. It doesn't have to be perfect because it's a fairly short cut. I was able to make a pretty straight line without the help of my paper trimmer, which made things pretty fast. I also saved those diagonal pieces to be able to use them throughout the spread if I wanted to, so don't throw them away, you can reuse everything. And finally, I stick them down with the same tape. Then I added another piece of tape to this yellow cardstock because I wanted to punch out some butterflies out of it, and this paper punch is from Martha Stewart's. You can use any paper punch that you may have already, but I like this one a lot, especially for what I am gonna be using it, because it has the bigger butterfly, but it also has some really tiny butterflies as well. So as you can see, I punched them out a few times, which actually was kinda hard with the adhesive. So be aware of that. You might want to add the adhesive afterwards instead of before, or you may also remove the backing paper before punching it. That would remove a whole layer of paper that the punch has to go through, and that way you may be a little more safe of trying to punch more than your paper punch is capable of. For some reason, I didn't think of that before punching them out, so this is what I did. And then I am removing that backing paper and placing my smaller butterflies in lines of 3 to use them as bullet points or checklists. And then I punched out one more set of butterflies, and in this case I used my Tombow glue pen. I have found this glue is really strong, anyhow, because it deposits such a small amount of glue. It dries very fast, so if you don't work super fast, it will dry before you place it down on your page, so you have to be very careful with that. As usual, you can really use any glue or adhesive that you may have. And of course, I am saving those bigger butterflies because I will be using them as well. And even the ones that I don't get to use in this spread, I will save because I could use them in the future. And then I wanted to show you a couple of ways that you can avoid that bulkiness that we were talking about before by creating the layering look without really layering the paper. And the first way is to use this leftover border that you get when you punch out your boxes. You simply snip the ends from it and then you just use it in the corner of another full box. And the second way would be to partially punch out a full box by leaving a gap in an L shape, and then you basically punch out in that L shape that we didn't punch out at first. This is pretty much what I do sometimes with washi tape, by adding the washi tape only to the area that would be visible after the layering. As you can see, you get that exact same look. And now I want to create some half boxes to use as labels and to write in them throughout the week. And for that, I used the guidelines in my paper punch that I created myself. And for that, I have a video that I will link at the end of this video as well. And I'm simply aligning my dot grid paper with those lines depending on how wide I will want the border of that half box to be, because I will layer it on top of this other half box that I will punch out now. And for this one, I will punch out the entire width of the paper punch, only not the entire height. And in this case, I am using the dot grid paper that I already punched out as a guide to know how tall I will need the actual half box to be. Of course, you can use the guidelines, but this is just another way of doing it and that I wanted to show in here. And yet another way is like I just did that second half box. I punched out a random half box without caring much for the height, and then I will glue down the center area, which would be the dot grid paper where we actually write down in the half box. And with my scissors or paper trimmer, I will just eyeball it and I will make that bottom border as thick as the rest of the border around it. As you can see, I used my glue pen in here again, but this was a pretty big area, so I pretty much at the end had to go around the corners again, adding a little more glue with the glue pen for them to stay down. And here I finally add a couple of those triangles just for decoration, and I think they add a little something without taking up too much space. Then I finally gave up on the washi tape on the top and I removed it. I replaced it with this other washi tape from Recollections also. As you can see, it is a thicker washi tape, so I simply trimmed it down with my paper trimmer to make it a little thinner and make it fit where I wanted it. And I really like it a lot better. I think now everything looks in harmony and balance. And I didn't want to add any black stickers because I really liked how muted down and vintagey everything looked. So even though my writing will be in black, still I went with some gold foiled stickers to mark down my payday, Memorial Day, and the numbers of the days of the week. And they are all from different sticker books from the Happy Planner. If you are still around, thank you so much for staying until the end of the video. It really helps my little channel a lot, so I truly appreciate it. And I really hope you enjoyed to see how this spread came together. I am really happy with the final result. So again, thank you all so much for watching, and until next time, take care and stay safe. Bye!